Okay, maybe the most important part of grade 11 data handling is the sketch of the ogive. Now the ogive is actually a cumulative frequency curve or graph. Now a curve normally isn't a straight line, are you with me?
Yes.
Curve, like the parabola is a curve, hyperbola is a curve, exponential graphs are curves. Straight line is a straight line, but it's technically also under the curves, but it's not a curve, it's a straight line. So we're going to be looking at a curve. Now, to get these like 9, 10 marks for this sum, please make sure you understand what I'm doing here.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so most of the time, and we will do one that isn't like this, most of the time you've got a grouped data. So you've got a group interval. Now the story goes about somebody went and measured the heights of boys in a certain grade or school or whatever the case may be. So what does this mean? There were 14 boys with a height between 115 and 120 centimeters. Are you with me? Which is quite short. Right? Must be primary school. Okay? Because boys your age is about 170, around about there. It doesn't matter, so let's say it's primary school kids. So do you understand what's going on here? Yes. Now I want you to do the ogive. Now normally they'll say quite a lot of things, simplify or do the table or fill in the table. Now the table will have to be done by doing the following. What did we call this?
Sum of.
Sum of. Now you're going to call it the cumulative frequency. Because what is sum of? You add them all together. What is cumulative? You add them all together. So that's just the wording. So you're finding the sum of the frequency or the cumulative frequency. And we need the cumulative frequency to be able to do this graph that we're going for. So tell me if I want to do that, it means that was what we did if we wanted to find the median, right?
Yeah.
Remember? If I say find the median of this, how do you do that?
Oh, we have to like find
You
the
said-
median.
Okay, first of all, go add them up and see how many there are, please.
They're 90.
I think there's 90 years too. So there were 90, so let's say grade 5 kids, grade 9 kids, whatever, grade 9's boys. Now to do the cumulative frequency, I want to know where's the middle of these 90. That is when I'm looking for the median, for the middle of them. Which would be the median of 90 of them?
45? 45?
Between 45 and 60. Because 90 is an even number. So between 45 and 46. So where would that be? So we started counting. There's 10 people standing here so far. Another 14 gives me 24. Another 22 gives me
46.
So where's the 45th and 46th one? So that should be my median. Are you with me? For later on, let's just refer back to that. So Q2 should sit somewhere over there, is what I'm thinking. But now I'm going to complete this table. And normally that's what I do in the test. I say, there's the table. Please complete the table. So to complete it, what do you do next? You add 23, so you get 69. Then it'll be. And then when you add, you're going to see me doing this all the time. That cannot be different. Otherwise you add it up wrong. So they have to add up both of them to 90. Now we're going for the cumulative frequency curve. Please sit still. So if I'm going for the ogive down, which has got a lot of things in it, and you must pay close attention because this is now what the most of the marks come for. So you always please write a heading, whether it's a histogram or whatever you're drawing. It's an ogive of heights, if you want. Now the wording is not so important, but at least I know you're talking about, you know what you're doing. It's not amount of cigarettes per day or whatever, you know what you're doing. Then you're always going to have your intervals on the x-axis, and you're always going to have your
Cumulative
frequency, I want you to get into that word now. Always for an ogive, this will be the cumulative frequency on the y-axis. Now, why don't I have a graph like that? Since I'm busy with intervals of what the heights of the guys are, can they be less than nothing? And if I add the number of guys on top of each other, the frequencies, that can also be not less than nothing. There was a -3 guys somewhere. Are you with me? That's the reason why we don't work on the negative sides with these ogives in general. That's going to be the case. Because your number of things will always be positive, and the cumulative frequency will grow, and also be positive. That's why we only have basically quadrant 1 here, if you're thinking about it. Now, because we are busy with intervals over here, you have a choice of a few things happening, but I'm teaching you the correct way now. You don't do your own stuff. So my interval started at 110. So now I go, there's 0. So, no, please no. You don't want to start on 0, because 0 is 0. That is 0, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So at least start a little bit further apart and say this is
1.
Are you with me? But
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
that's not 110, that's fine. I'm teaching you now. You are going to use the scale now. You're going to use maybe centimeters, and guys, in a test I can give you a grid with little lines and blocks like graph paper. You all with me?
Yes,
You don't all have graph paper, so we do deal with what we have. If you have quad line paper in your book, use that. But you need to do it accurately. You're going to see we're going to read stuff off of this. So you've got to be accurate. So now, if you want to use your quad, maybe you're going to have 2 blocks for each, or something like that. Or if it's a graph paper, you're going to see where the bigger lines and the smaller lines are. For now, we've got our line paper or our quad paper. So decide whether you're going to have centimeter, for instance. Okay, so we're going to go to 115, 120, 125, because the intervals go from 110 to 115, 115 to 120. Have a look. 115 has been excluded there. So if a guy was exactly 115 centimeters long, in which one does he belong? In the second one, because that includes the 115. Are you with me
Yes,
here?
ma'am.
Technical stuff. Alright, so then we get to 130. I need to get to 140, right? Oopsie, that one seems a little bit long for me. Remember, please use your scale and please use a ruler. 40, like that. So there's my intervals. Do you see that? Some people will maybe even write here 110 to 115. And that's fine. You'll see different stuff happening. So there's my intervals, and now I need to go for the cumulative frequency, which is going to stop where?
At 90.
At 90. So there's no use for me to go and say, oh, the biggest one was 23. By the way, that would be your what? The modal class. Are you with me? Stuff that we've done, still there, can still be asked. Modal class is the one with the highest frequency. So the modal class would be there. Right. So I have to get up to 90. I'm not looking at the frequency, I'm looking at the cumulative frequency. So I must make sure now in my book that I can get to 90. So I'm not going to go 10, 20, oops. Okay, so you plan. In the test, I will give you a grid, so it'll already be there, so no problem with that. So for me, I would say maybe. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, we don't go to 200 if you only need to go to 90, because then you're making it too small. You want the biggest representation that you can. Not the smallest, also not as big that it doesn't fit your page. Right. Now comes the rules, which you must write down. You're going to draw this ogive using the following. You're always going to do this. This is where you ground your graph. Whatever was the lower border of the first interval, the lower border, so the first interval was from 110 up to 150. The lower border is 110, and that is where you ground your graph. It has to start on the x-axis. There's no choice. It's not maybe you feel like something else. That's what you do. You always ground it there. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to use the 115 together with the cumulative frequency. Now some people will say, let's make another column and say the first, the x value, that's the interval, right, is 115 and the cumulative frequency is 10. Do you see that it's actually a coordinate pair? Because I'm teaching you now, you're going to use the 115 together with the 10 to plot it on your sketch. So 115 and 10 is there, right? You remember that I'm not so accurate on the board. Are you with me here? Yes. What's going to be the next one, do you think? 120 together with? Now, especially for a first time that you're drawing it, maybe you would want to put the points there. Okay? But that's what you're going to use. So I'm going to teach you like this. This will always be the grounding. This, together with this, is going to be the points I'm talking about there. So what's the next point? 120 and 24, right? 120. I'm trying my best to have it approximately accurate. The next one will be at 125 and 46. Are you with me? You've got to sketch it yourself. 125, 46, which is accurate, guys. Okay, next one. 130, 69, right? 130, 69. Is it possible that my graph can go up, down?
Yes.
No?
Well, oh, it keeps on
Why not?
Because the sun.
Because you are adding all the time. This is getting more and more and more and more. The graph should go up and up and up and up. If your cumulative frequency, your Ogive, does this and takes a dive, you're doing it wrong. That's it. Can't be. Maybe I should have started with that. An Ogive will always have this floppy S type of thing. What is an S? Right? There's an S, but it's like going to be a floppy S. That's generally what an Ogive will look like. You're going to see that it tends to dip off a little bit and flatten off a little bit at the top, and it'll grow and escalate at one stage, maybe with a little bit of more of a dip or so on. And you're trying to draw it as fluently and as smoothly as you possibly can without a ruler. If you use, because we're going to join these dots now, I'm not finished, but if you use a ruler, boom, boom, no marks. It has to be a curve, a smooth curve, so you're going to teach yourself to do it as smooth as possible. Okay, bonus marks here. So we're at 130, right? Then we're at 135 and 85. Okay, and the last one would be at 140 and 90. 85 and 90 are not quite far apart. Remember what I just said? Usually it kind of like flattens down. Why? Because usually the outer edges are the lesser ones. In the beginning there's a little bit less, think of the math marks. Those that do very badly are the lesser ones. Very, very good are the lesser ones. And in between there's the heaps. So where do they grow the most? There. You see it? So on your graph, what will happen there? That will be the escalation parts, that's going to be a lot. There's a lot of growth there and there. Also there, but not as much. And here's not as much. Do you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thinking about what I said to you, what to expect. Now when we do go and do this, smooth. So you teach your hand to go smooth as possible. Are you with me? Without making all sorts of hiccups. Alright. This would be around about 4 marks. This would be around about 2 marks. So you've got 6 marks for doing what? Adding for the cumulative frequency. Plotting a few points, making sure that you ground it on the right place is definitely the first mark. Your end point would be worth a mark, and then for the shape. Alright, that you don't do all sorts of nonsense. Now, is there an accurate representation here? Because if I felt like maybe going a little bit more fat here, was I right? There's no way of saying that. Mine was a little bit more up. If you made a little bit more of a curve there, are you with me? So there will be, when I read off stuff now, there will be a little bit of a discrepancy. I'm going to look at your graph to see where you read it off, because we're going to read stuff off now. So we've done our first Ogive. Round about 2 marks for the frequency table that you completed, round about 3-4 marks over here. So we're done with 6 marks, and I don't really know if you know what you did here. We're going to use this to find your quartiles. But I can do it anyway. Yes, I know you can, because you're going to find it the same way as you always have. But to find it from the Ogive, you're going to take this and divide it. If you want the quartiles, what must you do? Divide by 4. What must you divide by 4?
Because
The 90, right? Now I did this with a reason, because I put the 100 there so that you think, aha, 25, 25, 25. You can't do that. The most was 90. So it's 90 that you divide into quarters, and they do test you on that. If I write 100 there, don't think 25, 25, 25. It's 90 because your last one was at 90. Thinking about it, there's 90 kids that I measured. So 90 of them, what's a quarter of that? Well, half would be at 45, right? Yes. Then we go here, at the cumulative frequency. That would be my Q, 2 at 45. Then what would half of that be? 22.5. 22.5. That would be my Q, 1, right? And there's my Q3 at 22.5, 67.5, right? But now that's not my, those are not my quartiles. I've got to read it off. Please remember what we said, estimation. We're thinking Q2 should be between 120 and 125. I want us to see it happening. So now, rulers please, not like Mrs. van Skalkwyk. Right? Perpendicular to the y-axis, parallel to the x-axis. We go for our graph. Because this was 24. Are you with me? Because I'm checking there, because my graph's a bit off. So 22.5 should be round about there. So according to me, on my graph, I would say about 119. You think? Yours might be, but it can't be 120 because then you've got that point wrong. Because that point was a little bit more at 24. Are you with me? So this one, according to me, that will be where I read off my quartile 1. And my quartile 1 in this case was 119, Mrs. van Skalkwyk. You're going to draw yours and maybe have a little bit more of a fatter one or an upper one, and it might be more to 118. But then there will be a range that's acceptable in the test. It can't possibly be 116. What happened to your graph? You went, I don't know. Can't be. Are you with me? Let's look at Q2 and see if we were right. 46 was this one. I'm checking myself here. You see. So it should be a little bit before that. A little bit. And that means
124.
Just before. Now remember, this is heights. So can I say 124,653? And I'm going to say, okay, if you say so. It doesn't really, you can't really be that accurate on it. But my Q2 would be then at,
124.
let's say 124 is fine. Depending again if your graph was a little bit more uppy or downy or flatty. Are you with me? And let's look at our Q3 then. 267, I'm checking it here, see? Should be a little bit less than that. Okay, it should be mine, let's say 129. You check yours when you sketched it. Because I've read it off. You cannot just give me answers if I say, use your graph to find your quartiles. Then this is what I want to see. I want to see how you read it off. Must those little lines be there? Yes, they must. If I don't see them, you didn't read it off. Okay, it's not EGD that I don't want to see the extra help lines. I want to see the lines. Whenever you read off of a graph, I want to see it. Please don't do it in a highlight pen before you're sure that you're finished. Once you're finished and you're happy, then you can maybe highlight it so everybody can see where you read it off. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for today because it means some stuff. But I want you to go home and do another one for me. So first of all, you do the cumulative frequency. You're going to know where to start. So All I've said today, I want you to go home and see, oh yes, what did she say? Where must I start? Where's the grounding? It's the first or the lower border of the interval. Then always the upper levels together with the cumulative frequency. Guys, it's easy peasy marks, or you throw them in the dustbin. And after that, please make a smooth curve. And it won't always be. Sometimes they'll just ask you for the upper quartile. So all you need to go do was that Q3 for 1 mark. Or they'll ask you something else, which I will still show you. Okay.